This episode of Disturbed, the American Horror Story podcast, is brought to you by Tweaked Audio.
To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Welcome to Disturbed. We're talking episode 4 of season 8. Could it be Satan? I'm Rob Southgate. With me is
Chris Mao.
Hey, Chris, finally.
Yes, I know, finally.
Finally. All my fault, too. I want to fess up. I know I put it on our social media, but I got so sick. Literally, when we recorded the last time, it was 2 weeks ago on Thursday night. Friday morning, I got up. I'm like, okay, edited the show really fast, went upstairs. My wife said, what the hell is wrong with you? And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't feel great. She goes, in bed. Now, this never happens. I never get sick like this. In fact, we were reminiscing out of the 32 years she's known me. This is only the third time I've been anywhere close to like sick. The other one happened a year ago, yes, which derailed season 7 for us. So pretty weird, but maybe this one was terrible.
Maybe it's Brad Falchuk's fault.
It is. But it is. It's very strange, and it is absolutely when my voice sounds the way it does, and literally, like I couldn't get out of bed for pretty much for 10 days, and then I was still sick. I'm still dealing with it. I'm still on the medicine for strep, and if you look in there, I'm not going to show you, but it's pretty nasty. So at least we got it together. I watched 3 episodes today. We are 1 away from being completely caught up. We'll catch up by next episode, and then we're all good. Everything's solid. But let's jump into it. Although first, Chris, why don't you give your social media?
Absolutely. I can be found at the Blue Box Cafe or Blue Box Cafe 176 on social media. Also at GeeksCon with a Z.
GeeksCon, yeah. And then you can follow me at R Southgate or follow the show on Twitter at DisturbedPod, or you can, that's at the screen here too. Anyone watching, it's at the bottom. Or you can also find us on Facebook under Disturbed Podcast. You can find us under SMG Pods. You can find us under Southgate Media Group. You can also send us an email at, send it to, Southgate Media Group at gmail.com. That goes right to me. And yeah, man, I mean, just start typing in Southgate Media Group, Disturbed. It's going to show up on all these different platforms. We have Instagram, we have a Patreon, we have just all sorts of stuff. So that's how you get in communication with us, and we love it. And we do have somebody in the chat room. They haven't said anything yet, but as soon as they do, we will start chatting as well. So, Chris, episode 4. End of the last episode. Everybody's dead. And then everybody's pretty much dead. But Cordelia, Madison, and Myrtle show up, and they resurrect Mallory, Coco, and Dinah.
Right.
And in the other room, we know we have the robot Mead, and we have Langdon.
Yes.
And then everybody else is dead.
Yes.
So this was crazy. I mean, this was like, even though I don't think they needed to reboot, I think they were saying, here's the setup. Oh, it has nothing to do with this. They've done this to us before.
Yes.
But man, this was amazing.
Well, they kind of go back to, they came in, they did it, the witches showed up, and now they're going to start to explain, I think, the real...
Yeah, what's really going on.
But yeah, the season. And hopefully without the Roanoke BS, where they just kind of switch gears. Oh, we're going to do 4 episodes, and then we're just going to change it up. So
yeah, right.
But it's good.
I kind of doubt that's where we're going. I think we've got a storyline that's really starting to take shape here. I loved the one comment. Who knew it was going to be witches and warlocks at the end of the world? The show started with Mead and Langdon. We find out that Mead. Now, I thought Mead raised Langdon from what they showed, but we're going to find out in later episodes that that's not 100% true. But we do see that she was with him during his formative years.
Yeah. Well, she was raising him when he appeared to be a little bit younger. And, as we talk about this more in the show, right before he goes to the school, the Hawthorne School for Gifted Young Men, or talented, is it talented young men? Oh, exceptional young men.
Yeah, exceptional young men.
Exceptional young men. So
yeah, because basically I want to make a T-shirt out of that. So
right.
The Hawthorne School for Exceptional Young Men.
Doesn't it sound like an X-Man ripoff though?
Oh, totally.
So, it's fantastic. But they kind of cover him that he ends up going to this school. It's basically a warlock school, much like, is it Mrs. Robideau? Is that the name from Coven?
Yeah, Robideau.
But this is for male witches.
We're saying it wrong, but we know what it means.
But we know, yeah, exactly. And so they are very interested in Langdon because he obviously has some power. And then he goes to school, and that's what this episode's about. What happens?
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because I thought we'd have a ton to talk about with this episode. There really isn't that much. My notes that I took were pretty nominal. But it was such a fun episode. Learning about Langdon and Meade, finding out what she said, I'm the devil mama. I mean, come on. I love Kathy Bates, and she is killing it.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic. So, and that starkness of her appearance with the black hair and the very pale and the red the lips, it's really good, and she's really good at this role.
We had the I know what we got in this. After that first part, we found out there's like this whole warlock thing. Now, I told you before, I didn't watch Coven.
Right.
I need to go back and watch that. Did they show the warlocks at all in that?
To be honest with you, I cannot remember. I can't. I don't think they touch about it because they talk about the voodoo thing, and then they got into the whole Kathy Bates. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Madame LeBeau kind of thing. So I think they just focus on that because the dynamic of Coven was about Jessica Lange's character Fiona being the supreme witch and her daughter coming into power, who is Cordelia. And so it was that whole dynamic where Jessica Lange did not want to give up power, but Cordelia was obviously on her way to do it. And that was that kind of whole dynamic.
Right.
And what went out that in the hierarchy between the witches and what was happening. And, Madison and and Misty and all the people that they brought in and did all that stuff with. So that was about that. They may have mentioned the Warlocks, but I can't remember.
The little bit that I saw of that season, I did not see Warlocks at all. No. I loved this. I loved it. It was like they went to the boys' school for the witches, and it reminded me a little Harry Potter-ish.
Oh, yeah.
They had the Grand Chancellor of the Warlocks, and we also found out in this one that no male has been a Supreme.
Right.
And even though I thought this was great when he's like, there's no reason that they haven't, it's just they haven't. And if they pass the 7 Wonders test,
correct,
we have a male Supreme. Right. And this was interesting. I actually got lost in some of this. They did this. This was all a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
But then they showed occasionally things with the witches, which made me start all of a sudden going out of time and thinking, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's right. We're still in the past, even though it was the same witches that were there. The scene when they first find Langdon and they're watching the video and he's getting interrogated, and you see the cop go to the ceiling. The cop comes down and goes, "I'm sorry," and then his head explodes. That was crazy.
It was crazy. So I mean, he's obviously a very powerful witch, warlock, whatever, however you want to call it. Yeah. Well, they say warlock, but I think they not to give a spoiler, they refer to them as witches also in later episodes. But yeah, it's kind of amazing the power that he apparently has, which you would think a guy who
and up till now we haven't seen.
No,
we saw the scene with him and Madison. No, was it Madison? No, Mallory.
Right.
When he pushed Mallory a little too hard in the questioning, she brushed him back, and we went, "Oh wait, she's got this power."
Right.
And then we saw his face kind of turn, and he pushed back. It was like, okay, well, he's got power too. What's going on? Right. Now we know he's a wizard,
right?
Or he's a warlock. I'm going to get this wrong every time.
You're a wizard, Harry. Wait
That's
for
right.
Hagrid to show up and be like, yeah, Dumbledore to come in and just be like, yeah, whatever.
The only thing looking Hagrid here is me.
Have you seen me? Oh my gosh, it's horrible.
Oh yeah, it's a train wreck. So
you just insulted trains, I think.
Sorry, trains. Sorry, Thomas. Ooh, that's my sad Thomas sound. So I didn't know I had one. Another thing I thought was really cool is we found out what the building is. This was so cool.
Right.
When they came up on it, it's that Spiral is just sitting out there, and then he's like, yeah, they burned our school to the ground when they found out about witches, and all that was left was this sculpture, so we went underneath it. I thought that made all of that makes so much sense.
Right.
I couldn't figure out why this structure was the structure they had, for the apocalypse. None of that made sense. That made sense.
Now it does, and yeah, why they have it and why it survived, and
it also starts to make sense more why certain people were there. It had nothing to do with the elite and all the stuff that we were saying before. These were people that were handpicked to be part of this warlock witch showdown.
I don't know about that because Langdon expressed
the witch put the witches there.
Oh yeah, no, they did. Absolutely. It's not from Langdon's point of view, it's from the other point of view that happened. So
yeah. And the other people, I mean, they might have thought they were part of whatever it was. They got caught up in it. Maybe we'll find out later that they were pawns in this game as well.
Sure.
So let's see what happens then.
Well, they find Langdon. He proves that he's a very strong warlock, and they have
those tests.
They do tests. It's very much like Harry Potter, where they show the opening scene of the school is where there's some boys doing there's some younger boys or younger men doing some magic, and they're not paying attention, and they forget their school books and all that stuff, and then he basically comes in and is like a master level.
Right.
Day two. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a great wizard. This is what happens. And
that was very Harry Potter-ish when the warlock is walking around and he's like instructing them, and then it showed they were trying to make that silver spear or sphere, and it really had that vibe. I was thinking of the show The Magicians. I was thinking of Harry Potter. It just kind of all worked with that. But then as soon as the guy's head exploded, I was like, yeah, we're not in Harry Potter land.
No, this isn't. It can't be that simple, but it's pretty amazing. I loved the council guys. I love Cheyenne Jackson. I think he's really,
oh my gosh,
he's really, really good. And he plays
DB Wong is in there.
DB Wong is there. Well, the lead guy's name's Ariel.
Yeah.
He's
Ariel.
Guy. And then the black gentleman is named Mead. And then
no, he's not. Hold on.
That's his name. That's his character's name. Yeah, it is.
Because
but that's what they call him in the.
I don't know why they call him Mead, because his character name is phenomenal. I just got to find it here. His name is Behold Chablis.
Yes, it's fantastic. What they cut. Yes,
Behold Chablis. I think that's the best name, and I loved how their interaction. I loved how Cheyenne was very skeptical of the whole thing. He was seeing it immediately, and the other guys were like, no, we want this to be
right,
because they wanted to take over the witches, and he's just like, something's not right here.
Uh-huh.
We're not about being evil. We're warlocks and they're witches, and because that's what you got in Coven too. Is they weren't about being evil. Madame LeBeau was. They were witches. They were practicing witchcraft, and they were Wiccans.
Right.
That's very different than let's play around with pure evil.
Yes. No, there was. It's cool. Their dynamic is cool, and they just like very much like Coven. They complain about things with each other. They're not sure. Everybody has different motives, even though they're powerful wizards. But then when they do the test on Langdon, they're all like, "We don't even come close to him. What are we going to do?" Even though we're and they play off it. Some of the guys are jealous. Some of them are very optimistic that they're finally going to get a Supreme that's a male Supreme, and others are just kind of like, "Oh, what's going on?" So I love that dynamic between them.
Yeah. Now we get into the reason we came to this episode.
Dun dun dun. Yes,
this was phenomenal. This was phenomenal. And in fact, it tied in. Now, we've heard from the beginning they were tying in Coven.
Yes.
And they were tying in Murder House.
Murder House, yes.
You and I called it like first episode. They're tying in Cortez.
Yep.
And Cortez is part of this world. And what's great about that is we saw part of the Cortez.
It has to be, though.
Why?
Because they're doing witches, and what we're going to talk about was part of Coven, the time between Coven and Hotel.
But we didn't know that. We didn't know for sure that they were going to tie in Cortez. And that also means vampires are here.
Yes. Is Lady Gaga going to show up? That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Because we'll talk about that in a few minutes. There's some good stuff coming up. So
last episode, I was looking through IMDb as we were talking, and that's when I saw Queenie.
Yes.
And I went, oh, and I didn't talk about it.
Yes.
And then I saw Marsh was back.
Yes.
This was awesome. I could use more Marsh.
Well, so to set this up, to set up what you're talking about, part of Michael proving how powerful he is, and he wants to. Well, so the council, the male council says we got a guy who could be Supreme. They call the witches over and say, Supreme, we've got somebody here that could be Supreme. You need to check this out and take us seriously. And of course, Cordelia and Myrtle and
they're like, no.
They're like, no, whatever. You can't do that. Well, then Michael does something to prove to them that he's powerful enough. And so what does he do? You can tell the story.
He goes to the Cortez and he hears the story about how Cordelia could not get Queenie out of the Cortez.
Right.
And they showed how this is where we see her confront Marsh and tries to pull Queenie out of there. And every time she goes to the door, Queenie's stuck. And they even made a reference, like they've just been sitting here playing, what were they playing? War or 21 or something?
I think they were playing War, yeah.
They've been playing it forever. And it's like, this is what my life is. And that's just what they're going to do for eternity now. And every time she tried to walk her through the door, boom, Queenie's right back in with Marsh. And Marsh knew that was going to happen. It's like this, she's not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And Queenie was definitely bummed by it. Cordelia, who's so powerful, could not figure out how to get her out of there. She said she was there for days, trying everything she could think of.
Mm-hmm.
So Langdon overhears this. He goes to the Cortez. He walks in on the same game. Marsh is like looking him down going, there's something different.
Right.
This is different. And Queenie's like, yeah, I'll go with you and watch. I'll be right back here. What do I care? Blah, blah, blah. And
she gets out.
He walks her right out that door.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This guy's power is crazy.
Well, or is it? I mean, I had some speculation when I saw this that maybe he just had an in, but we'll
I don't think so. I think it's power.
No, I think it is too, but there's, it could be some other things. And then,
then the next one, I can't remember how they got to this. Did Cordelia reveal that she was not able to help Madison, or how did it come about that she went to get Madison?
I can't remember, but I think it's similar to that. So
yeah, some kind of story came up so that he heard that Madison was trapped. This was amazing. It shows Madison. She's working. It's supposed to be like a Walmart. It kind of reminded me of like a Kohl's or Bed Bath & Beyond.
Right.
She's working customer service. All these awful people in line. This was
fantastic.
Hilarious. Oh my
great.
God. And the best line was when the woman is like, oh, she's nobody. They thought she was Lindsay Lohan.
Right.
Oh, she's nobody. And she goes, you're calling me a nobody? You're like a non-named day player in my eternal hell. You know what? She's like, what do you mean I'm a nobody? And then the manager comes and cattle prods her and sends her off to deal with the sheets, or towels, which was like,
right.
Oh my
you have
God.
to fold towels.
Oh my God. Which, if you've ever had to work a job like that, which I have, oh my God. Like, I'm watching it going, this really literally could be what eternal hell would be.
Oh, sure.
You're the low man on the totem pole working at one of those places, and you got to just keep working and dealing with customers.
You got to
they're
crow and yes,
nonstop.
Yes.
nonstop. It was just great. And then he shows up, and Queenie shows up with Langdon, and she's like, I don't know how, but we're walking out of here. And they did. It was nuts.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. So then the whole band's back together, which is good. Why, Madison is back alive and coming back into the scene.
So we're still in the flashback stage. This is where I got confused. I said I got a little confused because when they came in, all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, where are we now? Because it's so close in time frame to what ends up happening. But Langdon, Madison, and Queenie come walking in, and you've got Cordelia and Myrtle, and I forget who else standing there. And Cordelia passes out.
Right.
Because, oh my God.
Right.
This guy did it. He not only got Queenie out, which she could not do, but she also walked in with Madison. This is crazy. Crazy.
It is. It's there's a lot going on, and not to give away spoilers, there's a ton of foreshadowing in this episode for what's going to happen coming up. And I'm not going to say what it is, but there is a ton. Just like we talked the last 5 minutes, I can think of like 6 things that I know are going to happen in the next episode or two. It's just like, wow. So
this was really like since the break, since the change, episode 3 through 6, we're talking 4 through 6 here, but after the break with the witches, this has been so plotted out. Everything we're seeing is tied back and plotting out in a way that like it's making it so you really got to pay attention, but it's really fun.
Right.
Like we went from me feeling a little iffy in the first couple episodes to me going, oh yeah, this might be the best season.
It's all right here. And there's a lot for the fan. There's a lot for if you've been watching this series, you're
and it doesn't feel like fan service either.
No, it doesn't. It's a good tie-in. So, and we'll talk more about that in the next couple episodes that we're going to do. So,
yeah, and it's like I know that the Witches season was probably the most popular. Everyone always talks about it. I think they've captured lightning in a bottle again if they can maintain this for the rest of the season. Because my God, I'm so in. I watched those 3 episodes today, and I was like, I've only got one more in my queue. Right. It's killing me. How am I going to go week to week?
Can I do it? Oh yeah, absolutely. It was like the first time I watched Walking Dead. I watched the entire season 1 in a day and a half, and I was just mesmerized. I'm like, oh, now I got to watch, season 2 every week. It's like, what the bleep?
That's exactly how it worked for us. Tough. So there you go. I think that wraps up season 4. What do you think?
I think
or episode 4.
Episode 4. I think that it's awesome, and it's. I'm glad. I'm excited about the direction that the show's going now. Not that I didn't like, as I told my wife Kathleen a few minutes ago, I really liked episodes 1, 2, and 3, and I'm loving 4, 5, and 6. So
yeah,
as a fan of the show, I think everyone else will appreciate it too. So keep watching.
I agree. All right. So follow us on Twitter at Disturbed Pod. Follow us on Facebook under Disturbed Podcast. What else? Follow me at R Southgate. Follow on Twitter. You can also find me under Rob Southgate on Instagram and SMG Pods on Instagram. And we have tons of events coming up at the Blue Box Cafe and at various other places that will be announced soon. If you go to our website, if you go to southgatemediagroup.com, on the homepage, we just announced our official fall lineup. So it tells you what shows are released on what days. And we actually, for 2 weeks, have been actually hitting those, even with me being sick. So we are on track for some really fun, cool things. And just so you know, keep your eye on that because we have a couple new shows that are brewing. I'm hoping to get those on before the end of the year. They're going to be so fantastic. Oh my gosh. And they're so different. Just really cool stuff. And Chris, why don't you give your social media one more time?
Absolutely. Blue Box Cafe or Blue Box Cafe 176 on social media. Also check us out at GeeksCon. We got some news about Volume 2 coming up soon.
Yeah, you do. And I think that's it. Let's end this episode. Chris, back into your rubber suit.
Thank you.